Hey guys, I want to do a quick one on the anatomy of the neck, the vertebral column, and the cervical plexus and brachial plexus that comes out, the nerves that come out of the spinal cord. So I don't have my spine, my new vertebral model with me, but we're going to use this like a vertebrae. So here's the body, and here is the process, the spinous process. There will be transverse processes here as well. So if I look at this from behind, I see mostly bone. But if I look at it from the front, I have nerves coming out. There is a spinal cord in between the bodies, right? So the nerves come out of the spinal cord. Now, let's talk about neck position. So the neck should have a normal 30 degrees of cervical lordosis, like this, right? So the front part is forward. The convexity of the curve is forward. If I don't have that, and I flatten this out, it seems like I would give a little bit more room for the nerves that are coming out. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong thing, the no-look grab. It would seem like it would give it more room, right? But how do I flatten the neck? Well, I have to, something has to move it there, right? If I turn on my trap, I'm really just gonna push everything like this, right? Trap comes up to occiput, pulls it backwards. The erector spinae do the same thing. But if I turn on the anterior neck, then I can push this back and I can flatten my neck. Some people, like my girlfriend for example, has a really forward head like this and needs to turn on a little bit of anterior neck to remove the excessive lordosis. Now, some people, that's like camp 1, right? We're not talking about that camp today. We're talking about camp 2, which is more like me. Now, for me, it feels like I am a little straighter. I get this military posture, and my whole spine flattens out. It looks, normally it should have this nice like lumbar curve. Well, let's go slower. Lumbar curve, and then thoracic curve, kyphosis, and then cervical lordosis again. And for me, it looks more like this. Now I know that that's spinal cord, so this is spine, right? Looks flatter. It's rigid. So let's go back to the anatomy of the neck. If I flatten that neck, I have these nerves, but I also have muscle. Let's say this looks like muscle, right? Here's a mouse. Muscle turns on, the pressure in the front of the neck turns on, increases, pushes back to flatten the neck bones. But in doing so, this pressure increase from turning on the neck muscles, the anterior neck muscles, it compresses these nerves here. I'm not going to tell you that that's going to cause pain. I'm not going to tell you that that's even necessarily wrong in every situation. But when I'm just sitting down, or when I need full ranges of mobility, right? So like, let's say I'm doing accessory work for my back. I want to do a row. Well, if I pack my neck like this, I limit the amount of rotation that I have everywhere. And so that can be useful if I just want to increase the load that I put on my rowing muscles. If I want more lat tone and maybe a little bit more upper back tone, then I can do that. But you're not really going to feel the upper back muscles quite as much because you have less motion at the spine. There's less available to you when it flattens. When the neck flattens out, or when the spinal column in general flattens out like this, you lose the ability to rotate so much just because of the orientation of the facets. That's something you'd have to look at. We're not going to go through that. Just take my word for it for now. Where were we? So we talked about that. We talked about the flattening. We talked about the compression. I'm not going to say that that's necessarily bad. Flattening can help me row more weight, but sometimes too much is too much. So sometimes it'd be way more beneficial from from like a progression standpoint or from an accessory work standpoint to allow a little bit of cervical lordosis, maybe just a normal amount, maybe not this much, right? Maybe just a normal amount, a normal 30 degrees, whatever that is. I'm not going to take an x-ray and measure you, but maybe I can just allow that and then row and allow for a little bit more rib cage motion and thorax motion, because now my back isn't flat and I'm not rigid and stuck. Let's look at an example. So if I flatten this out and I row, look at the amount of tension I have in my neck. I don't feel any motion here in my thoracic spine. I don't feel my ribs moving. I do feel my abs turning on. I feel my neck on. And I can probably row a pretty significant amount of weight that way. Now, let me try to relax. Let's look up a little bit more. Let's keep this a little bit more jelly. And now let's row. There we go. I lost it again. Let's try again. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm feeling tons of trap now. I'm feeling good scapular retractor. I'm not feeling so much neck. I feel like I'm a little bit looser. And as you can tell in the video, I'm so confident, even though I can't see the video, I can tell that this is much more jello. You can probably see less definition, less especially this bad boy right here, the sternocleidomastoid. I have a really long, boring article about the sternocleidomastoid if you want to read it. It's called The Slave Driver of the Head and Neck, lancegoyke.com. Check it out. I'm going to put it in the description. So, to review. Flat neck, nerves in front, another hand, tension in the anterior neck musculature, compression of nerves, and then pain. So those, maybe pain, I don't know. Tingly, problems, limited mobility, whatever it is. I'm not going to tell you have pain, because it doesn't work that way. But I'm going to tell you that normally I'm fixing this thing, because that's just too much pressure in the neck. That's too flat of a neck. It's too limited of motion for most people. Unless you're just trying to get yoked and you feel okay, then we can go for it. Yes, so case example. Let's think about, hypothetically, a Googler who is working on all sorts of computers and meetings and sitting down all day. Then they come to the gym at the end of the day and they want to get jacked. What do we do for them? Well, number one importance, especially in my experience, people working at Google, is they really care about how they do at their job. They want to be very good. They want to be competent. So that is priority number one, their well-being and their just their career proficiency, right? So I need to prioritize that. And if I sit around with this flat neck all the time, I'm way more likely to get distracted and to get the brain fog and to get neck pain and posture issues with sitting all day. I am speaking from experience. This is generally how I operate. Tightens my neck up, my eyes get really tired, so I wouldn't recommend that to someone. If they come to me and they want to be as jacked as they can, we might do something really intense early on, and then as we taper down, as we get towards that accessory work in the program, as we get toward minute 30, 45, probably 45, 60 area, that's when we start to focus on a little bit more mobility. Let's regain the mobility that we just stole from you so that you feel more relaxed and you can go back to work. Most of these people work at night. I'm trying to work on that, but some of them don't, I guess. I want you to be able to rest, because we're about to go to sleep and I need you to recover for the next day. I need you to wake up energized. So for most people, I am going to cue this slight look up above the horizon, and then make sure we maintain that while we row. You'll notice this is a great cue for people who really love to look down at the ground when they're walking. I'm thinking of one client in particular who isn't me, and I need to go tell her about that right now. So, hope you enjoyed this 10 minutes of rambling about the neck.